you left Philippines several years ago to pursue a different phase in your life. Now that you're based in Israel, tell us a little bit of story of that. Why Israel, and what was the transition from Philippines to a different country and incorporating the teachings of Elsai to a foreign land?
Well, let's start with why I moved. That was funny, because you find love in the strangest places, and when you meet the love of your life with the martial art you love, how can you say no? How can you not follow that path? So that path took me to Israel. One, it's a country with a totally different culture. It's urban, it's hip, it's young. Yeah. But it's a place that also has deep history. It's Israel, for crying out loud. It's been there. Bible time we're talking about. So the challenge there, first of all, is like learning the language. Though English is, if you're in Tel Aviv, everybody speaks English. To start bringing Filipino martial arts there, which is a different culture also on its own, it was challenging in the sense that not just to teach it, but to actually start off teaching it, because in the Philippines, what do? We go off to a park, you find a spot, you teach. Though that's possible to do in Israel, if you're really serious about it, the whole infrastructure that goes behind it is tricky, because one, it's important to have insurance when you teach. Problem, if you can't get insurance if you are not certified by the sports institute. The sports institute will not certify you if you did not take their course in teaching. And it's hard to pass this course if you don't speak the language, because all the classes are in that language. So, there's always a previous step before to get to that end point you want to do, and it can be complicated. So you can't really go halfway. Also, as a teacher, you can't just give answers or teach people, do like this, do like that, oh, like this, like that. No, especially if you're trying to be precise in your methodology. You need good language skills. You need to have know how to develop rapport. You can't boss your students around. All these all these personal skills also need to be polished. It's not just about you being good at what you do in the martial art. You need to also be able to get people to understand the art mechanically, technically, but also culturally. Because if you're a Filipino representing Filipino martial arts, it's not just about movement anymore. You're also trying to tell them indirectly what it's like to be Filipino.
You're right, because when you share a martial art, you're not just sharing the skills.
Yeah.
You are sharing the culture itself.
Yeah.
And how it is being a Filipino.
Exactly.
The values of how we were, taught in this system, and our forefathers earlier. When I said that has to have significance in towards.
And I'm not saying that they're strangers to Asian culture. Of all the people, I think Israelis are one of the most traveled people in the world. Like Europe is so close by. They travel all the time. What I'm saying is that Filipino culture is different from what they've seen in other Asian cultures. They're familiar with Chinese culture, with Thai culture, with Japanese culture. Filipinos over there don't go there for vacations. Israel is not an immigration country. You don't go there to immigrate. People immigrate to Israel only if they are Jewish, doing aliyah, or their return to Israel, or if you are, or you get married to an Israeli. So these are the reasons to enter the culture. And so Filipinos over there, you can't really naturalize, like by working there and then staying there for a while, and then you work and then you stay there. No, it doesn't happen that way. So the, that's they're not that familiar with, with Filipino culture, especially outside of that. There's no familiarity with the food, with the language, only with what they see in the Filipino caregivers, and that's a different story.
So your headquarters for your training, um, well, your training facility is now based in Israel, and as they always say, respect is earned, not gained. Um, how was it received? How was FMA received in Israel? And what in terms of your experience, what were the nuances or the challenge, or even the experience of actually now here's one student in front of me who's now wanting to learn this system. Tell us a little bit of story of that.
Well, again, teaching artists in Israel is challenging because of the culture. As I said, uh, Krav Maga is another story. This is part of that story where it talks about Israeli mindset. So teaching a Filipino martial art from Filipino mindset into Israeli mindset, that's where the challenge lies. Um, Israelis are very direct to the point. So if you are going to spend 2 3 months teaching kata or teaching anyo, this is a good way to lose students. They need to see applicability, usability, practicality. Uh, they need to see how it can be of use for them. How it will enrich them. Some though will go for the sport aspect or the health aspect of moving the body around and all that. True, yeah. But at the back of their heads, can I use this? Will I will I spend my money and my time? Do I in a class? And will this be worth it? You know, they actually have a word which means is this worthwhile? Kedai, is this worthwhile? Is this worth my time? It makes it interesting that when we to teach it there, to teach Arnis there, you have to really find out what are you trying to teach. Are you trying to teach a collection of moves that do you want your students to memorize, cultural artifacts, or are you really teaching them how to fight with the sticks? So that's where you need to make decisions in how are you going to teach. Do you teach just pure fighting, put on gear, armor, and smack each other? Or do you want them to understand more of the culture behind it? So in my case, being uh, being part of a legacy, of Grandmaster Benjamin Luna Lema's legacy, and I found it important that they understand where the art comes from, who this art comes from, what is the lineage, what are the important points, benchmarks in the system. What do you need to learn to be a proper proponent of lightning scientific harness, but at the same time without losing sight of its practicality as a martial art and its relevance in these modern times. I mean, we keep saying that the gun has changed everything, but you can't carry a gun all the time. You know, and some of the violence on the street is not gun violence; it's clubs, sticks, knives. So I think, especially there, I was thinking, hey, you know, I think we have something to offer from our point of view, from the Filipino point of view, how to do this. So that's where I found my footing in Israel. So when people come to me about Arnis, okay, let's play, and I will, um, we'll I'll introduce you to the stick. One way or another, in the class, you will be introduced to the stick, whether you're hitting somebody or you're getting hit by somebody, because it's a martial art, and they needed to see it as a martial art, as not just this aesthetically pleasing martial art with weapons, but as something practical and maybe even necessary in times nowadays. So I find myself with members, friends, associates, and other member clubs, in other places. Within Israel, I have 3 clubs. I have 3 areas I teach. I teach in Tel Aviv, Petah Tikva, and Rishon LeZion. And from there, abroad, I go to the States a lot. To be specific, I have member clubs in DC, in Houston, in Seattle. I have another member club in Canada. Started coming to the UK more. When I'm in Asia, I drop by Singapore. We have Australia. Well, I still have my home club in the Philippines, which I need to visit more. We're growing, and it's not because I'm trying to dominate worldwide. No, that's not it. Okay.
It's interesting when you say, how do you handle satellite branches? I mean, visiting them is obviously one, because it is, very hands-on instruction. But what resources do you use to manage your schools?
We are lucky to have the internet. We are lucky to have the internet. Really, we are, because constantly I'm constantly online. Okay, it's like I'm 24/7 online, because that way I can reach out or be reached out to by members, friends, associates, and through Gmail, through email. People can contact me. I have my YouTube site. I have my blog. Facebook Messenger, WhatsApp Messenger. So I'm constantly online, and I can, I can reach out to my friends, to my members, my associates, through these social media. This is how I try to create the support system for them. So I make the joke that I'm L-site tech support. It's like, okay, so what's your question, sir? What seems to be the problem? How do you do blah blah blah? Okay. So I make the joke about that, but that's what I see. That's how I see myself now, because I understand how it's like to be by yourself, and I say this in the sense that, well, no one lives forever. So when Mang Ben died, and then Elmer followed, the big dogs are gone, right? The alpha dogs are gone. Where do we stand? What do we do now? We can't go running around like headless chickens. And at sometime, to take a quote from Lemise, the pup grows up. So what do you do? You're now one of the seniors, and there are people who junior to you looking for answers. Asking the same questions you were as a student. I don't know. Some people, for some people it doesn't matter, but I couldn't ignore the people who were asking for help, looking for answers. I sometimes even say I don't know the answer, but we can look for it together. That was the start of my group, really. So I made myself available to people who within the system, needed to find some answers, or needed somebody just to talk shop with, discussion over, about technique, about history, just to be on the same page with everybody else, and so that's what I'm